It's now time for Global Insight, where we speak to experts from around the world on issues making headlines. Now, South Korea has been aiming to diversify trade links amid supply chain shocks since last year, delivering a blow to the resource-poor, trade-dependent country. As Seoul looks for new economic partners, it is working to relaunch talks on a free trade agreement with Ecuador, exploring ways to work more closely in terms of supply chains, as well as key strategic sectors. Talks have been stalled since 2016, but discussions are set to restart soon upon the 60th anniversary of bilateral relations being marked this year. To discuss the deepening trade and diplomatic ties between the two countries in the face of numerous geopolitical challenges, we're joined in the studio by Johnny Reinoso-Vasquez, His Excellency Chief of the Diplomatic Mission of Ecuador in South Korea. Very warm welcome to you. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Good morning. It's a pleasure for me to be here, and thank you so much for this interview in Arirang.
Oh, it's our pleasure, and thank you again. And we have quite a number of questions to ask you this morning. And the global economy, it's been going through a lot in recent years. The supply chain disturbances that we've seen, also economies everywhere are still reeling from the effect of the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. So against this backdrop, what significance does the free trade agreement negotiations between South Korea and Ecuador have at this point?
As you know, Korea and Ecuador has a complementary economies. So with this FTA, because SECA is an FTA, we hope that we can increase these trade and commercial relations between Ecuador and Korea. You have the technology, and we have the natural resources, the supplies, and even the logistics for improve the commerce between the two countries. So I think it's a win-to-win relation. This FTA, it's not only for the ways of the prices of the products, but also for the framework of cooperation and even phytosanitary issues and matters. So I think with this agreement that we will sign in the near future, we can complement our economies and improve this bilateral relation that we already have between Ecuador and Korea. Because as I say, those are complementary economies. We have the natural resources, you have the technology. So I think it's a perfect match, and it's a win-to-win relation.
Right, and once it goes into effect, then what kind of goods and services are South Korean and Ecuadorian consumers, what kind of services and goods are they going to be able to enjoy?
As you know, in Ecuador, we have a high quality of products. We have, for example, the best roses in the world. We have one of the most delicious and big, and of course, high quality shrimps and products like cacao, mango, bananas, I mean, any kind of fruits that we can distribute around the world. But the problem is that when you don't have an FTA, you have different prices instead of the other countries that already have this kind of agreements. So in that order, after we finish these negotiations with the FTA, we hope that we can reduce the prices of the Ecuadorian products in the Korean market. So in that order, we can bring more products here. You can enjoy more fruits, more quality of products like, for example, roses, cacao, chocolate, coffee, for example, and we can have these high quality products in the Korean market. But not just this. You know, this FTA is not an opportunity just for Ecuador. I think it's an opportunity for Latin America, because Korea can find in Ecuador a door open for Latin America, not just for the products, but also for the logistics. Ecuador is located in very strategic region in South America. So we could be the host of the logistics for the Korean products. For example, Korea can send the products, the technology to Ecuador, and from Ecuador we can distribute these products to the rest of Latin America and even United States. So I think this SECA, as we call this FTA, it could be a good opportunity not just for Ecuador, but also for Korea in terms of logistics too. As I said, the areas of cooperation are very big. I'm not talking just about products and natural resources, but also technology and also knowledge exchange. we can, for example, increase the film industry, the technology, for example, software or hardware also we can exchange. So I think this FTA will be a good opportunity to do that.
Right, and as you said, it could really be a gateway to the rest of Latin America,
yes.
as well as North America as well.
Yeah.
And when do you think this deal is really going to be concluded after 6 years of having talks stalled?
Yes. We hope that this agreement will be done at the end of this year. We hope to have the final draft on December of this year. I have to tell you that in July of this year, in the next month, we will have the 6th round of negotiations. In total are 9 rounds of negotiations, so we will have in the first week of July the 6th round. So experts and of course the team of Ecuador and the team of Korea will have a meeting here in Seoul during that week. So we will end the 6th round of negotiations, and we will continue with the rest of negotiations in the following months. So I hope to have the final draft of this agreement for the end of this year.
Right, and you mentioned win-win partnerships,
Yeah.
and well, as you mentioned, with South Korea having the sort of infrastructure and Ecuador having natural resources, what kind of partnerships do you see the two sides striking up when this deal is implemented?
You know, the bilateral relation between Ecuador and Korea has a long tradition of cooperation. I think that this FTA is just one of the proofs of the strong relation that we have between Ecuador and Korea now. Because I have to mention something, not just in the framework of the commercial relation, but also in the framework of the bilateral relation themselves. You know, during the Korean War, Ecuador helped this country with food and medicine, and also in the international arena. And from that time, we start that we used to call, and also we call now, the long tradition of cooperation between Ecuador and Korea. So also it was demonstrated during the pandemic, because as you know, in 2020, my country was one of the most affected countries in Latin America, not just for the pandemics, but also for the economic crisis that we had in that time. So in that time, Korea was the number 4 country who gave us and provided us non-refundable cooperation. So it is part of this proof of this long tradition of cooperation between Ecuador and Korea. And this FTA is part of this strong relation that we have now with this country. So when we talk about to bring the products of Ecuador here, or to take the products of Korea to Ecuador, we are also increasing this relation between both countries. The technology of Korea, it's very well known in Ecuador. Most of the Ecuadorians prefer the Korean technology and the Korean products, and I think also in Korea they prefer the quality of the products of Ecuador. So I think it's something we win, you know, and I think with this agreement, and also with the rest of agreement that we are also negotiating, because we are not just focusing the commercial relation, but also in the diplomatic and bilateral. We have, for example, in the near future, in the following months also, we will sign a legal agreement between Ecuador and Korea. So I think this is part of this relation. We hope also to have a high-level official meetings in the near future. We hope that my president, His Excellency Guillermo Lasso, could visit Korea at the end of this year, and we are working on it. I hope that with these high-level official visits, and also with these opportunities that we have, also we can increase this relation.
Right, and definitely there have been that the diplomatic relations between the two countries have been very significant over the years. And actually, it's quite a little known fact that Ecuador was the first market for Hyundai's Pony car back in the days. And well, are there any other little known facts about Ecuador?
As you mentioned, and thank you for mentioning this fact, many years ago, the first product of Hyundai motors to be exported and overseas, it was a pony car, and this pony car was in Ecuador. Yeah, as an anecdote, I can say in the museum of Hyundai Motors, there is this car, this pony car. The first car was sent to Ecuador, so we are proud to say that, you know, this is part of this motto or this phrase that we call this long tradition of cooperation between Ecuador and Korea.
Right, and well, there is a very distinctive relationship between South Korea and Ecuador, and you seem to be, well, I think you seem to really appreciate this unique bond more than anybody, having chosen to spend many years here in South Korea. And well, what were some of your proudest moments here as acting ambassador and a diplomat here in Seoul?
Well, Korea in my personal life and also in my professional life has been a very wonderful opportunity to serve the people. I think the most important achievement of this period leading this embassy, because it has been 3 years leading this embassy and 5 years here in Korea as a diplomat, it was serving the people in the hardest time that we had, especially in the pandemic. I remember in 2020, my country was suffering a lot during that period, as I say, not just for the pandemic, but also for the economic crisis that we had. And in that time, we obtained many refundable cooperation, and we have a lot of people. Due to this diplomatic relation between these two countries, I always appreciate the generosity of the Koreans, not just of the government of Korea, but also for the private sector, the institutions, and all the people who wanted to help us in that time. Fortunately, now in Ecuador, the things are better, especially we had, as you know, the most successful plan of vaccination in Latin America. And now my country was one of the examples of going through this pandemic, but during the hardest time, Korea was a friend for us. And in that period, we appreciate this long tradition of cooperation between these two countries. And I think it was the most important achievement that we had in that time. Also, you know, during the period as a diplomat, we have many anecdotes. For example, in my personal case, I had the opportunity to work and meet His Excellency Yoon Suk-yeol when he was General Prosecutor of Korea, and who will say that several years later, he is now the President of Korea. So also, as you know, we had a special delegate from Ecuador who came here for the inauguration of His Excellency President Yoon, and it was a good opportunity to recognize this kind of achievements that we had during these years and also during this period in the bilateral relations between Ecuador and Korea.
Right, and if my memory is correct, I remember you got a prize from now President Yoon Suk-yeol during his time as Prosecutor General for really cooperating with him during South Korea's very important moments in the legal arena. And well, finally, as Chief of Missions here in South Korea for Ecuador, what are some ways that you hope to see the two countries really deepen their relations as middle power countries, taking on all these very different and very challenging global uncertainties and complexities?
Ecuador and Korea are far in the ways of territory, but we have many things that we have in common. You know, the attitude of the Ecuadorians are very similar of the attitude of the Koreans, and in that order, I think we have many coincidences in the way that we see the reality of the war. Korea is willing to help the war in the climate change, for example, and Ecuador is one of the examples of climate change. As you know, in Ecuador, we have many natural resources and many treasures that we are protecting now. We have Galapagos Islands, we have also the highlands in Ecuador, and also we have patrimonial cities there. So we are protecting that. And in Korea, I saw the same ideology. You are willing to protect your country, your natural resources, and also the war. And the international arena, as you know, we were selected as a non-permanent member of Security Council of UN just a few days ago for the period of 2023 and 2024. So we will start it in the next year. And Ecuador came back to the Security Council after 30 years, because the last time that we were part of the Security Council was in 1992. So in that order, Ecuador agrees with Korea in the fact that we want to improve the peace in the world, and of course the peaceful settlement of disputes. And also I have to say that in the framework of United Nations and also in the framework of the Security Council, we are willing to help the nation, and of course we are willing to improve the peace in the world and the respect of the human rights in any ways.
Right, well, I'm afraid due to time this as well, we'll have to leave the interview, but thank you again so much for your time today, Your Excellency.
Thank you so much, and warm greetings from Ecuador, from my embassy, and the best wishes to the Ecuadorian people and this wonderful country.
Thank you.